Yes, Tuti.
Live. Good evening, friends. A warm welcome to all. Today is the 9th day of 10-day certification course of GST, and tomorrow we are going to conclude this course. Today we are going to cover the following topics: important and relevant High Court, Supreme Court judgments, and how to reply notice of the department. Notices under the GST Act are a method used by the tax authorities to communicate with taxpayers. GST notices are often sent as a warning voice for any automation marked by authorities, especially in compliance with the GST, or to collect access information from the taxpayers. Getting a notice from the department can leave you in panic mood. And for this, we have a guest speaker, CA.Jatin Harjai ji. He is a practicing advocate. He practiced as a chartered accountant for more than 15 years before starting legal practice. In short span of time, he has become recognized for his contribution and expertise as a knowledgeable professional, advisor, and consultant in the field of financial consultancy and tax advisory. With a core expertise in indirect taxes, he has been serving entrepreneurs and various corporates in varied areas like compliance, consultancy, structuring, and litigation. There are many landmark judgments to his credit. Many are published in leading tax journals. He is having a vast industry experience, including that of infrastructure, mining, real estate, construction, hospitality, online gaming, broadcasting, manufacturing, e-commerce, and etc. He served as a consultant in the World Bank project for GST implementation for the government of Rajasthan. He is actively engaged in representing industry before the department at various levels. He is represented in the Tax Advisory Committee before Chief Minister of Rajasthan for giving recommendation and suggestion before state budgets. Apart from TSC, he has represented Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Rajasthan, Tax Consultants Association, Tax Consultants Association Jaipur, before Commercial Taxes Department at various levels in relation to modification in VAT laws of the state and development of GST. He is a special invitee member of National Indirect Tax Committee of ICI. He is co-opted member of National Indirect Tax Committee of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industries. He is a member of panel of GST experts maintained by CIRC of ICI. He is also a member of panel GST experts maintained by EIRC of ICAI. He is a founder convener of the study group framed by the ICI for study, research, and recommendations of GST. He is a member of All India Federation of Tax Practitioners, also a member of the Chamber of Tax Consultants Mumbai. He is also a member of Rajasthan Tax Consultants Association. And we have with us none other than CA Vivek Khurana ji. He is the founder of CA Sansaar and his name is just enough for the CS. Now, I would request him to welcome him and give him a welcome address. So please.
Thank you very much, Tuti ji. CA.Jatin Harjai ji, speaker of this 9th day webinar on GST certificate course. CA Stuti Mahajan ji, all other respected member of the profession, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to all of you. At this 9th day, you can say that the second last day. As Stuti ji said, tomorrow we will try to conclude it. And it's really great. And first of all, my sincere thanks to Jatin ji for accepting our invitation. After since long, we are conducting once again with Jatin ji. He just reminded me, we have already conducted on the same topic, how to respond the notices, and it's on the CA Sansaar. You can check it on the YouTube itself. तो जतिन जी के साथ हम ऑलरेडी कवर कर चुके हैं. He is a very well renowned faculty. So my sincere once again thanks to you, and we are getting lots of appreciation, lots of feedback regarding the topics and the faculties. So thank you very much for your love and support. We are trying our best. We want you should get the really with the great knowledge from the learned speakers. And one thing I want to share with Jatin ji, in past we have received feedback from the speakers. You are giving very less time to us because in 1.5 hours it's very short span of time. But then we have decided now no time limit of the for you. You can go continue up to 8:30, 9, but whenever you want. अगर आपको लोग सुन रहे हैं 300, 400, 500, then you can continue. And again, one thing I want to request everyone, please don't write your name, membership number, etc. Definitely on 11th or 12th you will get the certificates. अगर किसी को सर्टिफिकेट नहीं मिला, you can mail us at joom@casansaar.com, or you can also send me the message. आपका जो GST सर्टिफिकेट शेड्यूल है उसके अंदर मेरा नंबर मेंशन है. You can ask for the certificate itself. And PPTs, जो भी PPT है, you can download it from the Telegram channel. CA Sansaar का जो Telegram channel है उससे आप डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं. And again, I am requesting, because it's the second last day and might be you people have learned lots of things. आपको जो ये रिकॉर्डिंग है आपको CA संसार YouTube चैनल पे मिल जाएंगी. आप अगेन एंड अगेन अगर कोई डाउट्स है आपके, आप उसको चेक कर सकते हो. And I request to all of you, groom yourself. We need more and more speakers. As promised, next अगर हम कोई सर्टिफिकेट कोर्स करेंगे तो might be few of you will be the speaker. So again, for these words, once again my sincere thanks to all of you and Jatin ji. And tomorrow is the last day, and also we have another webinar. It's a very very important webinar जो भी recent amendment हुई है in income tax on the partnership taxation AOP section 9B. It's on the YouTube at 4 o'clock. So be there, and 6:30 जो हमारा regular program है and the last day, so it will be there. So once again my sincere thanks to all of you. Thank you Jatin ji. Now it's over to you.
Thank you, Guranaji. First of all, good evening to each and every participants, viewers. Let me start with the compliments to Guranaji and his whole team for creating such a wonderful, not only this event, rather multiple events. And I must say that the CA Sansaar is very, very active and providing so many complimentary and value-added services to so many members. So he deserves compliments for it. So let me just introduce about the topic. I'm getting some message that voice is low. So is it? I cannot do anything actually. So, Ranaji, is it whether it is audible to you properly, or it's only few participants?
Sir, low voice.
Sorry?
The voice is low.
Voice is low. Okay. So I need to raise my voice. That's it. I cannot do, because I can't do anything with the IT or this. I have logged in actually through the mobile device, not the laptop or the desktop. So let me try. Let me raise my voice whatever I can. So see, with regard to this topic, I was just wondering, and when I just checked around half an hour ago before it's going to start this topic, that what should I speak on today? Then I just checked that I have already been to this platform once, and that time the topic was the how to handle all the notices and summons. This is what I just told to Vijay, and Vijay has communicated the same. So my approach would be for today is that I'll speak more on the relevant judicial pronouncements, maybe of the GST regime, maybe of the past regime, which are useful now. And I'll talk less comparatively on the how to reply the show cause notice, though definitely since this is the topic, I will cover that. But if I'll miss out something, or I'll summarize something, so detailed aspect can be seen again on that YouTube channel. The link may be shared by in this channels, maybe whatever the way it can be. So before I start, let me start from the basics. See, if I recollect, our Supreme Court has referred, not even once, multiple times, that it is duty of the king. They were quoting the UK law to reduce the law within proper territory of the legal framework. If they want to recover taxes, they have to write it in so much appropriate manner that no one has room to go out of it. If there is any room to go out of it, that means levy can't sustain. That means it is duty of the legislature to make law, and then it is duty of the executives to exercise their delegated functions in such a manner that anything which anyone wants to tax should come within the framework of it. Now let me go to Article 265, which is parent provision for charging any taxes in India. Article 265 says no tax shall be levied or collected except by authority of the law. That's very important. I always try to discuss this particular aspect, maybe introduce this particular article to all my friends, colleagues. It says no tax shall be levied or collected. That means neither there can be a levy nor there can be collection until unless it is supported by the law. Because at times what happens, we concentrate only and only on levy aspect. Whereas a perfect approach should be that one should concentrate on both the aspects equally, levy as well as collection. To start with a very, very simplest example. Let us say today I received a show cause notice for service tax of the in relation to a year, maybe 12-13, financial 12-13, 13-14, or 14-15. Let us assume I have provided some services on which I have not paid the taxes. Can I say levy was there? Levy was not there in the year 12-13, 13-14, 14-15? Answer is no. Levy was absolutely there. Tax rate was there. To whom the taxes is to be paid, it was mentioned in the law. So I was supposed to pay taxes. But now that time period is over, which is provided by the law itself for the collection mechanism. So department cannot collect the taxes belonging to those particular year now because it is time barred. So this is one of the examples that collection should also be through the legal proceedings, through the supported by the law, not otherwise. And there are n number of things. This limitation is a very, very common aspect. There are n number of things whereby we, in a routine life, we see the department has not followed the proper procedure as far as collection is concerned. Now, coming to a couple of aspects, the judgments in relation to, because it's an open-ended topic given to me, I've just tried to write down on what topics I should discuss. The judgments in relation to what topics I should discuss. So topic which came to my mind, which may be useful for all the members or the professionals as of now. One common is ITC, input tax credit. Each and every person is having some issues in relation to input tax credit. Then rectification. Rectification is the other area. Again, I'm receiving some messages. Should I maybe, should I log out and log in again?
Now it's okay.
Okay, fine.
Please request all of you raise your voice. आप अपना volume increase कर लीजिए वहाँ से, because
Sir, please थोड़ा सा बढ़ा दीजिएगा, because I'm again getting a couple of messages that the voice is low, but I honestly speaking I can't do anything. I can just do log out and log in again. That's it. If it is not okay. Anyways, so second topic, that which kind of judgments are helping us to get our things corrected, rectified. If there was some wrong statement, if there was some omission, in the returns, how to rectify it, whether some judgment supports us. Third aspect is, at times the goods were being detained, vehicle and goods are being detained as seized during movement, Rule 138. And department makes so many issues with respect to that, which may not be required. So what can be the approach apart from whatever we are having a regular legal course which are known to us, like, okay, we are giving these documents. Can we have some other approaches to us? So that the third aspect is with regard to circular. This I will discuss. I will start from there, and then we can discuss judgments in relation to provisional attachment or maybe seizure of the bank account kind of thing. So let me start from a very, very legal topic, circulars. We have recently seen a couple of circulars are there. In the June 2021 only, to be more precisely on 17 June, couple of circulars came out. And those circulars clarified from their side that this is what the tax treatment of a particular services or maybe supply of goods. One was a long debated issue. There were actually two long debated issues. Number one, in relation to sprinkler system. So they have clarified that, okay, the tax rate would be 12%. That means that they have clarified from the day one it will be a reduced tax rate. That is fine and fair enough. I don't want to discuss that. That circular has given some benefit. Now, on the contrary, there is a other circular number 150/2021, which is in relation to infrastructure sector. Now, what happened in that particular sector? There was an ambiguity, or maybe a difference of opinion among the different stakeholders that what is the exact meaning of the exemption. And then this circular clarified from their side that this exemption is not available to annuity payments actually. So on this hand particularly, the circular has said this exemption is not available, which is actually directly in contravention of what was discussed in the GST Council in September and October 2017, while coming up with this notification itself, direct in contravention with that. First question, first poser. Each and every one of us know that circular is not binding on the taxpayer. Circular is not binding on the taxpayer, but it is binding on authorities. Each and every one of us know this aspect. मैं एक नया aspect discussion के लिए आपके सामने रख रहा हूँ. क्या सर्कुलर इश्यू करते, क्या CBIC के पास ये पावर भी है? Whether the CBIC has a power to issue a circular whereby they are going to deal with the taxability aspect of a particular supply. Let me repeat that. I'm not on administrative circulars. That, okay, these will be the functions of this authority's XYZ. Like circular number 3/3/2017. I'm not asking on the circulars which are being like what procedure is to be followed by while the department is going to intercept particular vehicle. Under section, maybe how to deal with section 129 things. But can they go ahead with it and say, okay, exemption will be available to this fellow and exemption will not be available, or tax rate would be this one? Can they do so? Prima facie, if we go to the GST law, GST law doesn't have a terminology itself. The terminology is circular. Section, none of the provision in the CGST or the state GST or the IGST Act uses the term circular. So there is no authority with the government to issue any kind of circular as far as GST Act is concerned. Now what happened? There is an authority. जो मैं अभी आपको बोल रहा हूँ, you may find it surprising. There is an authority under section 168, whereby they say that board can issue circular for board can issue board for the purposes of proper implementation of the provisions of the act. Let me read it for you. The board, if it consider it necessary or expedient so to do, for the purposes of uniformity in the implementation of this act, purpose is uniformity in the implementation of the act, issue such order, instruction or direction to the central tax officer as it may deem fit. So there can be an order, instruction or a direction by the board under section 168. If I recollect the central excise law, if I recollect income tax law, more or less similar provisions are there. They also doesn't talk about circular. They all, each and every law talks about orders and instruction by the board. Correct. So order or instruction can be issued by the CBIC, no problem. For purpose, what the purpose is? Uniform implementation of the provisions of the act. Uniform implementation. अब आपको जान के थोड़ा सा सरप्राइजिंग हो सकता है कि आज तक जीएसटी में जितने सर्कुलर इशू हुए, approximately, if I'm not wrong, 156, 157 circular has been issued till now. And out of them, approximately 50% of the circulars have exercised the powers under section 168. 3 and 4 have exercised the power under different provisions, and rest of the circulars have not exercised power under any specific provisions of law. You will find approximately 50% of the circular which is worded like this: in exercise of the powers conferred by section 168, we are giving this kind of order or instruction. Whereas in rest of them, it is not mentioned so. And these are the circular which I am discussing, which came on this latest recently on 17 June. It doesn't say so, that in exercise of the powers conferred by section 168. Now, having said so, let me come to the other aspect. Even assuming that this circular is even not mentioned that in exercise of the powers under section 168, can we say sharing your own interpretation is the implementation of the law? That means you are expressing that the department, CBIC is expressing its views that this exemption is not available to this one, or this one, this is the tax rate which is applicable. Can we say it is a proper implementation? It is for the purpose of implementation. In my humble opinion, no. Whether this exemption is available in a particular case or class of cases or on a particular subject matter is a judicial or a quasi-judicial function. Is a judicial or a quasi-judicial function. Can CBIC enter into it? There is a lovely Supreme Court judgment on this. Sirpur Paper Mills. Now, what happened? This judgment is, with what I am discussing it with you, is in reference of the wealth taxing, whereby the factual position was like the Supreme Court was discussing what happened. The assessing officer has done something. Assessee filed an appeal, and Commissioner Appeal has decided the case exclusively on the basis of the circular issued by the board. That board has given this direction and we have decided the circular. And when the Supreme Court was narrating or giving his judgment on this aspect, the Supreme Court says that there cannot be any intervention in the functions of the judicial authorities. Now, even further, they have gone further. Supreme Court has gone further and said it doesn't mean कि आप administrative officers को भी कोई ऐसा order या instruction issue कर दे सकते हो जो कि judicial या quasi judicial nature का हो. Let me read it for you. This is 1 SCC 795 year 1970 Sirpur paper mills versus CWD. The relevant point, I'm just discussing relevant point, relevant para on para number 4, the last part. It enacts that no order, instruction or direction shall be given by the board so as to interfere with the discretion of the appellate assistant commissioner of the wealth tax in exercise of his appellate function. Fair enough. It doesn't, however, imply that the board, in exercise of his quasi-judicial function, such an interpretation would be plainly contrary to the scheme of the Act and the nature of the powers conferred upon the authorities invested with the quasi-judicial powers. So my humble opinion is there cannot be. The actually board doesn't have this kind of power, and as expressed by the Supreme Court also, that they cannot enter into the step of quasi-judicial functions or judicial function. Rather, they can issue the order direction in the light of administrative functions. So why I am discussing so that if you are, or maybe your client's case is like this, that some circular is coming on the way, that some circular has clarified the things like, okay, this is taxable, this is not taxable kind of thing. Maybe ITC is not eligible on this, or maybe tax is leviable, or maybe tax is leviable at a higher rate. You can take recourse in light of this Supreme Court judgment, Sirpur paper mills. Now, one more aspect, let me just quickly, I just reminded. The Supreme Court has specifically, in the case of Anjum M.H. Ghaswala, it was an income tax laws case. They have specifically said that the circular issued under authority of section 119 is only the relevant one. Any other circular or maybe press release or maybe other document release are not even binding even on the income tax authorities. And please mind, and let me tell you that the language are same, more or less same perimeteria in case of income tax, section 119 and section 168 of the GST. One more aspect before concluding this point. If we refer corresponding provisions of the excise law, which is section 37B of the excise law, which gives the power to issue orders and instruction to the board, वहां पर जो purposes हैं, there are 3 purposes given. 3 purposes are given there. Number 1, for the purpose of uniformity in the classification of excisable goods. Number 1, uniformity in the classification. Number 2, with respect of levy of duties of the excise on such goods. Number 3, implementation of the provisions. So under the excise law, the corresponding section 37B says the uniformity in the classification, in levy of tax and implementation of other provisions. So that means why I am taking this interpretation, that implementation of law doesn't include classification. अगर ऐसा होता तो एक्साइज में ये 3 अलग-अलग लिम नहीं लिखे हुए. Second aspect, हमारे कुछ एक सर्कुलर ऐसे आए हुए जो मे भी काफी लोगों के लिए रिलेवेंट हो सकते हैं. मैं सेकंड एस्पेक्ट कह रहा हूं. दिस एस्पेक्ट हैज बीन कंक्लूडेड. नाउ सेकंड एस्पेक्ट, at times when you are trying to classify services, maybe आपने देखा होगा HSN code is there in case of goods, also in case of services. Services को आप SSC बोल सकते हो, HSN बोल लो, hardly matters. So we try to classify the services in line with the HSN. In line with the HSN. As far as goods is concerned, I'm okay. I don't have any problem with it. But what happened to services? See, even these circulars also uses that services classification, HSN classification of the services. In my humble opinion, HSN given in the service tax rate notification and exemption notification, that is 11/2017 and 12/2017 rate notifications. is absolutely irrelevant for legal purposes. Is absolutely irrelevant. Why I'm saying so? Please go to the main header, whereby what is mentioned, we are directly looking at it, the entries. Okay, this is the entry, maybe entry number 23, HSN 9967, maybe exemption is given to the access to a road by way of toll and nil condition, no condition is there. Maybe one can go to the goods rate notification, we are directly getting goods, but what is written above in the when they are notifying it? जब आप goods का notification देखते हो, if I talk about the exemption notification, then goods notification says in exercise of the power conferred by section 11, the government hereby satisfied that it is necessary in the public interest so to hereby exempt intrastate supply of goods, description of which is given in column number 3, falling in that chapter item heading, maybe summarily HSN mentioned in column number 2. So what is being exempted in case of goods? Description of services which is given in column number 3 and HSN of which is in column number 2. Now what is in the case of services? If you go to the service tax exemption notification, what is there? Service tax exemption notification says description of these services are exempted in exercising powers under section 11 subsection 1, which are description of which is given in the column number 3. There is no reference of column number 2, which is HSN column. So why I am going to see that HSN? Absolutely no. Even the explanation provided in the exemption notification, in the notification at the bottom of the circular notification, or clause number 3, it says that HSN given is for indicative only. It is indicative. No statutory meaning can be taken out from there. And even now, what is happening in so many circular, the government is coming up with the interpretation only and only on the basis of HSN of the services, which in my humble opinion, is absolutely wrong and not sustainable. Now, let me come to another aspect. See what happens at times. We have received the cases whereby the goods has been checked in the movement. I'm sure so many of you have received these kind of cases. But what peculiar situation I am discussing? That let us say goods has been stopped. Let us assume there was e-way bill only, bill was not there. Or maybe vice versa. Bill was there, e-way bill was not there. Or maybe third case, none of the document was there. So prima facie it appears that it is violation of section 68 read with rule 138 read with section 128, 129 and proceedings of detention, seizure given under section 129 shall apply. This is what a prima facie believe, that either bill was not there or e-way bill was not there, or alternatively none of the document was there. But if you all will agree with me that in each and every provision and all law says that before imposing any kind of penalty, you will have to give an opportunity of being heard. Opportunity of being heard. So why this opportunity is there? Let us assume the officer has given me the notice that okay, while goods were in movement, you were supposed to have this bill or e-way bill with you, but you are not having anyone, or you are having one, not the other one. So why not the penalty should be levied on me? Why this show cause formality is there? Why this opportunity formality is there? Or is it only a formality? Please mind, the Honorable Supreme Court in the case of DP Metals 1 TUD based on 1.3 has explained this very beautifully. I'm sure it must be useful for everyone. So वहां पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो बात बोली वो बोली अपॉर्चुनिटी सिर्फ नेम से की बात नहीं है, अपॉर्चुनिटी सिर्फ नेम से की बात नहीं है। Supreme Court said that penalty cannot be levied in the cases whereby on giving this kind of opportunity, or rather what they said is penalty should not be levied on the cases whereby the documents, the reference, actually this case was in relation to section 78(5) of the RWAT law, not RWAT, RST law. So again the same situation was there, that billability and waybill should be there. So they have explained first that this particular penalty can be levied when the overall documents are not there, or some fake documents are being produced, and it cannot be levied whereby documents exist or can exist. Please mind this word is very, very important in the judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court. The penalty is not leviable in the cases whereby the documents referred above exist or can exist. Meaning thereby, if you are giving the opportunity, and taxpayer comes with a response along with the respective notices, it will be sufficient compliance. There may be a situation, there may be a fact that you have given some documents to the transporter, but he has forgot to maybe keep it in the vehicle. He stopped somewhere, he forgot those documents there. So they said for which the document exists or can exist. E-waybill 4 दिन पहले का बना हुआ है, या जिस दिन मूवमेंट स्टार्ट हुआ था उस दिन का बना हुआ, वो अब लाके दे देते हैं. Or you are having a e-waybill but doesn't have the bill, but all the substantial information are already there. No allegation can be there in this case that there is a evasion. So it is just only a copy of the bill which is to be enclosed again. So in all those scenarios, no penalty can be levied. Now, let me talk to something about most important aspect of the GST input tax credit. Burning issue, not one, not two, not three, multiple type of issues are there. Multiple issues are there in relation to input tax credit. See, before we discuss anything, before we discuss any particular issue of input tax credit or any precedent, we need to understand that what is the theme behind this particular law. Please mind, Bombay High Court, even in the case of excise, that means moderate era, they have specifically observed that the moderate, that this is a mechanism of collection of the taxes. This is a mechanism of collection. It is not merely a benefit or a kind of exemption which is being granted to the taxpayer or the assessee. How I understand it is that instead of a basic price, government wants to tax the maybe consumer price. So that is why, and even they don't want to leave the right of taking a collection at a later stage, at a timely stage. They want to collect taxes timely, and they want to collect the taxes at a consumer price. So they have taxed the manufacturer, and then with the value-added tax regime, they have collected each and every other value addition. So ultimately, let us say whatever product is there. So the ultimate target is to tax the component, tax the product at its consumer price. For this purposes, when you have already taxed the product, you will have to give the input tax credit. Otherwise, it will not work on. And by the time we have seen all the provisions in the laws, or rather the laws are being made with the objective that better flow of the credit should be there. Firstly, it was ModVet, then SenVet, and now the GST. And GST में एक extra feature है. Extra feature क्या है? पहले तो ये सिर्फ गवर्नमेंट की इंटेंशन थी. Now it is a constitutional obligation. It is a constitutional obligation. If you will refer statement of objects of 122nd GST Constitution Amendment Bill, which was presented in 2014 in the Parliament, वहां पर साफ लिखा हुआ है in the objective clause that reduction in the cascading is one of the objective. So हम ये सिर्फ नहीं करें कि ये सिर्फ गवर्नमेंट की इंटेंशन है, rather गवर्नमेंट को लॉ ऐसा बनाना पड़ेगा क्योंकि it is a constitutional obligation. There should be least cascading, and if you will not allow input tax credit in a proper manner, then there will be a cascading. So जब भी मैं input tax के credit के कोई provision पढ़ता हूँ and I find there is some conflicts are there. So in my humble opinion, the correct interpretation should be in that line that there should be least cascading. That means input tax credit should be allowed. In fact, CGST Act के जो statement of objects and reasons है वो भी यही कहते हैं. Free flow of the credit should be there. CGST, if you refer statement of objects and reasons of CGST bill presented in 2017 before the Parliament. अभी एक जब हमने ये देखा ये सारी की सारी बात आती है तो आईटीसी में सबसे बड़ा जो इश्यू निकल के हमारे सामने आता है वो कहीं ना कहीं ये है कि मुझे इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट नहीं मिल पा रहा है, वो इस रीजन से कि मेरे सप्लायर ने टैक्स नहीं दिया. नंबर वन, मे बी सप्लायर ने टैक्स दे दिया लेकिन मेरे जीएसटी 2A में दिखाई नहीं दे रहा. दिस इज गोइंग टू बी द बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम, और वी कैन से कि दिस इज व्हाट द रूटीन प्रॉब्लम. सबसे पहले एक बार ब्रॉडर पिक्चर में समझते हैं इसको. क्या एक बार को ऐसा केस लेते हैं कि मान के चलो पीछे वाला टैक्स दिया ही नहीं, तभी क्या होने वाला है? लेट अस अज्यूम कि पीछे वाले टैक्स नहीं दिया, फिर हम दूसरी बात करेंगे कि 2A में आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा, वो उसके बाद की बात है. अगर हम ये मान लेते हैं कि हमारे पास नहीं आ रहा है कि मेरे पीछे वाले ने टैक्स दिया, तो क्या आपने टैक्स उसको दिया था? If you are a bona fide purchaser, what's going to happen? You must have taken the invoice, you must have paid consideration to him along with the taxes. This is what the genuine preposition. अभी सामने वाले ने पे किया, आपने उसको टैक्स का कंपोनेंट दिया क्यों? Your contracted price was, let us say, 100 rupee plus GST. So why you are paying GST to him? Because he is a registered GST taxpayer. Government has given a license or a certificate to him that he is a GST registration, he can collect the taxes. So he is nothing but a kind of agent to the government as far as collection mechanism is concerned. We have n number of cases discussing this aspect. But let us discuss the most famous one, Arise India Limited from the Delhi High Court. Why I am discussing this judgment? Because SLP against this judgment in the Supreme Court was dismissed. So थोड़ा सा और better footing पर आ जाता है. So वहां पर जब दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट ने डिस्कस किया तो उन्होंने स्पेसिफिकली ये चीज ऑब्जर्व किया कि भाई आप जस्ट बिकॉज की सप्लायर ने टैक्स का पेमेंट नहीं किया है, यू कैन नॉट डिसअलाउ द क्रेडिट इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट ऑफ द बायर. अगर मैं बात करूं जब अराइज इंडिया आया था और आज की डेट में जो सिचुएशन है, क्या लॉ में सिमिलरिटी है? लेट मी टेल यू, सेक्शन 16 सबसेक्शन 2 क्लॉज C, which requires or mandates that the supplier should pay that the taxes should have been paid before taking input tax credit. The perimeter of the similar provisions are there under the DVAT Act under section 92G. Section 92G of the DVAT was there, which was more or less same, with one difference only. In GST law, it says that taxes should have been paid. That means whether supplier is paying, whether recipient is paying under RCM hardly matters. In the DVAT Act, it used to be paid that the taxes has been paid by the supplier, seller. This was the only difference. Otherwise, it is exactly same. So in while interpreting that particular clause, Delhi High Court has set down the provision that you cannot apply this provision each and every cases. So they have differentiated in a bona fide buyer and a non-bona fide buyer. In the Delhi High Court, that Delhi High Court has specifically said कि अगर कोई आदमी ऐसा है, जो एनालॉजी उसमें दी गई वो ये है कि फॉर एग्जांपल मैं परचेस करके ला रहा हूं और मैं आपको बता पा रहा हूं दैट इज ही इज द सेलर, X person is the seller, then you cannot, and X person exists there. डिपार्टमेंट उसके पास जाता है, ऐसा नहीं है कि वहां पर उसकी फैक्ट्री नहीं है, दुकान नहीं है, it doesn't exist, ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है. डिपार्टमेंट का केस ये नहीं है आई एम इन द connivance with that fellow. So in those cases section 92G is not applied. Write down. लेकिन अगर ऐसा कोई है कि आई एम इन connivance with the seller, मैंने कुछ मिली भगत करके वो फेक बिल का कहानी बना दी है, in that case definitely this can apply, but not in each and every cases. Now see what happened recently. We have got the same analogy in the GST as well. See, abhi GST is a newborn baby. By the time different judgments, we will see the so many judgments, but we need to take clue from the past judgments. So exactly on the same analogy, now we have a judgment from the Honorable Madras High Court in the case of DY Bethel Enterprises versus STO. Now what happened there is, this is not even an issue of the two-way. What happened? Department has issued the notices, show cause notice, and made the allegation that of the fake invoices on the buyer. This comes DY Bethel. They have, in return, they have explained it to the department that we have purchased these goods from so and so fellows. The name was Charles and his wife. So we have purchased these goods from Mr. Charles and he is Mr. Charles. But department made the case against the buyer saying so that since GST law is clear that if the taxes are not being paid, we will make a case against you or we can recover it from you. There, Madras High Court came in picture and they have ordered that how come you can make this kind of demand? When the supplier is there, the buyer is going to identify the suppliers to you, then you must inquire this aspect from the supplier. When the buyer has already paid the taxes to the supplier, the prima facie responsibility is on the shoulder of the supplier to pay the taxes. Prima facie it is responsibility of the supplier, not the buyer. Because buyer is showing you that he has already made the payment. So if you are going to recover again from him, then it is going to be a double tax recovery on the similar point. So exactly we can say, though it was not being categorically referred, but we can specifically see the analogy is more or less same. That if in case of bona fide buyer, the credit should not be allowed, the credit cannot be denied to the buyer. So Arise India, and in the case of GST recent judgment, DY Bethel, which came in February 2021 from the Honorable Madras High Court. Now let me come to the next, next part of it. Having said so, I have broadly discussed the analogy when the supplier has not paid the payment. Now, at times, this can be the situation that supplier has made the payment, but somehow he has not filed the return. Maybe he is not required to pay in cash and he has not filed the return. Maybe he has paid the taxes, filed the return, but made some error in mentioning your GST-IN, so it is not getting reflected in your portal. So what's going to happen there? This is what the second aspect. See, in my humble opinion, GST law has inherent mechanism for all these type of situations, which has not properly been explored by till now. एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट है जो कि हम सबको समझना पड़ेगा और याद करना पड़ेगा कि जीएसटी लॉ में जो claim of input tax return and filing of the credit, these are linked provisions. These are provisions which are linked with each and every one. Procedure of claiming input tax credit and filing of the return. And you'll recollect that earlier, when the GST law came up, the analogy explained to all of us was that once the supplier will have to file a GSTR1, then 2A will be reflected on the portal of buyer. Then buyer will file the return GSTR2A using GSTR2A. Buyer will file its inward supply return under section 13, namely GSTR2, using GSTR2A. And then GSTR3 finally. This was the precise analogy. And if you refer section 37, 38 and 39, there is no change in this scheme. All the three sections are as it is there in the statute books. एक बहुत important provision. Section 38. Section 38 says, when you are going to file your inward supply return, in that case, this is what in relation to claim of the input tax credit. So precisely if I talk in layman's terms, then this law says, section 38 says that you will use GSTR2A and modify or delete or validate that. And if some entries are not there, you may include those entries as well. That means if some supplies are not being reflected in your 2A, even then you can add those supply in your GSTR2 and can claim the credit. And what is the procedure prescribed for it? Once you, let us hypothetically assume there is you are having amount reflected in GSTR2A as 1,000 rupees. However, you are having invoices of, let's say, 1,500 rupees. Now, what happens? Ideally, what should be the procedure? You should claim 1,500 in total. You will report 500 rupees in GSTR2. Then what's going to happen? As per law, this 500 rupees will be informed to the respective suppliers. This 500 rupees will be informed to the respective suppliers. And those suppliers will confirm that, okay, whether we have supplied these things or not. Hypothetically, let us assume out of that 500 which I have put it into GSTR2, 300 gets accepted by the supplier, 200 is still not being accepted by the supplier. The question is, for what amount I will take the credit? Is it I will be eligible for taking the credit 1,000, 1,300 or 1,500? Answer is 1,500. Even law says so that you can claim the credit on the basis of, even if some inputs are not there, missed there. Then what's going to happen? Then section 42 comes into play, which says there will be a matching concept would be there, and both the parties will be communicated with regard to this mismatch. Please mind, what is the summary of it? Summary is that the buyer has been allowed by section 38 and section 42 to claim the credit on the basis of his books of accounts or on the basis of invoice and on the basis of his own self-assessment. And twice in the law, there is an opportunity to rectify or complete this anomaly. One, first at the level of assessee itself, second with the intervention of the department through the matching. And thereafter only, if it is not even reconciled, then in that case only the recovery can be done from the buyer. This is what the proper provisions of the GST law, which has never been appreciated in this light. Now what happened? Rule 36(4) come into play. Rule 36(4) came into picture with effect from 9th October 2019. कि आपके जितना GST या 2A में दिखाई दे रहा है उसका 20% eligible credit का extra देंगे, chapter ends there. So precisely what happened? Rule 36(4) has violated the mechanism which was there under the GST law. Rule 36(4) has clearly, in crystal clear terms, has violated the scheme of the credit which is there in the GST law itself. यानी सेक्शन तो ये कह रहा है, जो एक्ट हमारा है वो ये कह रहा है कि you will be having twice the opportunity before anything can be recovered from you. One in the form of GST 2, then in the form of section 42. And rule बन के आ जाता है कि भाई आपको immediately किसी भी तरीके कोई अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं. अब यहां पर एक क्वेश्चन ये निकल के आता है कि GST 2 की कई बार हमने बात की. मैंने बोला कि GST 2 अब कई लोगों के दिमाग में है कि भाई GST 2, आई थिंक ये वाला मैं बहुत बार पहले भी बोल चुका हूं. आई रिपीट दैट, प्लीज माइंड, GST 2 कहीं नहीं गया है. देयर इज नॉट अ सिंगल नोटिफिकेशन व्हिच सेज कि GST 2 आपको फाइल नहीं करना है. ऑन द कॉन्ट्ररी, देयर आर द जो भी जितने भी नोटिफिकेशन है अभी तक उन्होंने सिर्फ GST 2 को सस्पेंड किया. जुलाई 2017 से लेके पूरा मार्च 2021 तक के सारे नोटिफिकेशन है जो ये कहते हैं कि वी विल टेल यू द डेट ऑफ GST 2 फाइलिंग एंड इट इज इन योर बेनिफिट, प्लीज माइंड इट. हम सबको पता है आने वाला नहीं है, लेकिन लॉ सेज सो. एवरी टाइम द नोटिफिकेशन हैज जस्ट एक्सटेंडेड द डेट ऑफ फाइलिंग ऑफ GST 2. सो प्रिसाइजली जब GST 2 आएगा तभी तो मैं पूरी तरीके से प्रॉपर तरीके से क्लेम करूंगा. ये समझना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, इवन फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ रेक्टिफिकेशंस. So in my humble opinion, रूल 36(4) जिससे कहीं ना कहीं बर्थ मिलता है मैचिंग के कॉन्सेप्ट को इन GST में, that is absolutely ultra virus to the provisions provided under the statute itself. So many writs are being filed in whole of the nation, different high courts. But yeah, final decision are yet to come. But we have so many places notices has been issued and etc., but final judgment has not been there. But I am hopeful that in someday this particular rule will get questioned by the competent courts. अभी एक और aspect जो कि बहुत common है, जो issues आते हैं, rectification. Rectification के केस में क्योंकि हम सब लोगों से भी गलतियां हुई, बहुत सारी गलतियां सरकार ने की है, गवर्नमेंट ने की, ऑफिसर्स ने की, हमने भी बहुत सारी गलतियां की कि भाई किसी जगह के ऊपर इंट्रा की जगह इंट्रा रिपोर्ट हो गया और मे बी वाइस वर्सा. मे बी कुछ जगह के ऊपर you have inserted or feeded the wrong number. Maybe dot has not been mentioned and instead of 1 lakh it has been reported as 1 crore. Maybe data of A&M company has been filed in B&M company's return, something like this, or maybe uploaded. So these are the different type of errors which has been faced. So first, let us know and understand what is the provision with regard to rectification, or is there any provision for rectification? Because we all are aware that okay, returns are not being allowed to rectify. Returns are normally not being allowed to rectify. Please refer subsection 9 of section 39. Subsection 9 of section 39, which specifically talks about rectification of the return. Which specifically talks about rectification of any omission or incorrect particular in the return. आप कुछ बताने से छूट गए, omission, कुछ गलत बता दिया, incorrect particular in the return. The same return can be, the return can be rectified. This section, rather this subsection, very interestingly starts with the phrase subject to provisions of section 38(7) and 38. Please mind, 37 is provision for filing, which requires filing of a outward supply return, outward supply statement, namely GSTR 1. Section 38, which is inward supply details. Rule 60, precisely form GSTR 2. And section 39, read with section 61, says monthly return, which is GSTR 3, and in absence of 3, it is GSTR 3B as per Rule 61. So, rectification of monthly return is subject to section 37 and 38. Is subject to section 37 and 38. Fine and fair? And similar provisions are there in 37 and 38 as well. That 37, 38 return, that means one can be that can be rectified. Now let me share with you a couple of judgments on different kind of rectification. Maybe jahan par bhi aapka koi related hai, you can correlate it with your the case in hand. Let me start with one of the cases which we handled in the very beginning of the GST. What happened with one of the dealer, that they made multiple mistakes, not even one, multiple mistakes which even cannot be rectified. One of the mistakes starts from that instead of when filing or claiming the input tax credit in GSTR 3B of the first month in the July 2017 itself, IGST was properly claimed, SGST was properly claimed, but SGST was claimed as 73 lakhs. But in case of CGST, the claim was made for 73 crore. Dot लगने से रह गया बीच में से, तो वो 73 लाख का 73 करोड़ हो गया. At that time, system used to permit it. अभी तो शायद आज की डेट में सिस्टम परमिट नहीं करता कि आप दोनों चीजों को उसमें इंसर्ट कर दो. अलग-अलग सेम नंबर्स की जगह अलग-अलग नंबर इंसर्ट कर दो. ये आई थिंक आज की डेट में सिस्टम परमिट नहीं करता, but at that time it used to permit. So IGST claim was correct, then CGST claim it was made 100 times, and SGST claim was correct. Now compensating mistakes were there. So many compensating mistakes, additional mistakes were there. So when we get to know in the month of March. So in March, client came that this has happened, and we have claimed the credit which is used wrongly, and we have never utilized it. उस time ये arrest की चीजें start ही हो रही थी. So even client was actually scared. So when we have examined the books of accounts vis-a-vis GSTR 3B of whole the months for whole the year, we concluded that it cannot be rectified. It cannot be rectified through the GSTR 3B in the coming months. GSTR 3B. So what I did is I advised to file the physical form, all returns in physical forms. So we filed all the monthly returns GSTR 3B in the physical form in the month of April 2019. We get to know it in late March 2019, and we filed all the returns with the correct data in the month of April 2019. Now some issues were there in filing of the annual return, because annual return gets the auto-populated data from GSTR 3B. So we was not having any issues, but a couple of other things were there. Then we finally approached to Punjab and Haryana High Court. After a couple of hearings, 3-4 hearings, we get a almost final type of order, but in the form of interim order. Though it is not, this case is pending till now, but it is more or less concluded here. So interim order dated 6 November 2019. This was important. The case name is PP Automotives Private Limited versus Union of India. Case number must be 24600/2019. इसमें जो ऑनरेबल कोर्ट ने ऑर्डर दिया, उन्होंने डायरेक्शन दिया डिपार्ट, they have specifically written that in light of section 39 subsection 9, rectification can be there. Rectification in the returns can be there. So they specifically wrote, before giving the final order, for rectification in the portal, we direct central tax officers, which is the Assistant Commissioner Central Tax, to examine correctness of the claim made in the manual returns vis-a-vis books of accounts. Manual returns vis-a-vis books of accounts. Meaning thereby, the court has specifically directed to ignore online filing, to ignore what has been filed online. And for the year 17-18, we filed all the GST-HC in the month of April 2019, please mind it. And when the department is examined and tallied all these things, so what happened actually? The department filed a reply before the court after examining the document, after examining the manual return which has been filed in April 2019, vis-a-vis books of accounts, that there is a total, that when they said there is a what is the total difference, they come out with some maybe 100 rupees or something like this, whereby the turnover was hundreds of crores. So this was kind of error they find. So I think that is very usable, and approach is very usable can be used by any professional. So see, I have explained you in a very summary manner, but definitely you can take a call on these basis. Now, sir, let me explain the second judgment, which is Bharti Airtel versus Union of India. That's another very lovely judgment from the Delhi High Court. The earlier one was Punjab, this was from the Delhi High Court. See what happened when Bharti Airtel was filing its return, monthly return. They have actually missed taking credit of huge input tax credit on account of capex. Capital expenditure were made by in that time, and they somehow missed claiming that. And this fact, and obviously what's going to happen when you missed claiming input tax credit? Obviously, in the earlier months, in the month of July, August, September 2017, they have paid the taxes in cash. This is what's going to happen if you have not claimed the credit. Now, since they get to know about this omission or this rather non-claim of this input tax credit, and amount was used, hundreds of crores. So they get to know about it in October 2018. Then they thought, what can be done now? They have taken shelter from the Delhi High Court. Very nicely explained, very nicely argued, very nicely presented. So they have presented before the court that since it is a new law and government were supposed to come out with a form GSTR 1, 2 and 3, which was not there, and all of a sudden GSTR 3B was there. Though we have implemented our system in the manner as explained by the government earlier. So there are a couple of misreporting or wrong reporting. There are a couple of misreporting or wrong reporting. And if this, we are supposed to rectify that return. Now, Delhi High Court has specifically examined the scheme of the return filing, which I have discussed it with you, section 38(7), 38, 39, then claim of the credit, etc., etc., rectification provision, and then came to the conclusion that actually this return can be rectified. This return can be rectified. And they have specifically allowed claim of input tax credit in the order, or rather in the final order which came in the month of in May 2020. They have specifically allowed not only taking hold of the credit, rather allowed the refund as well. Because had this credit been taken at that point of time, the cash outlay should not be there for the Bharti Airtel. So that is why they allowed the refund as well. So I think this is the another landmark judgment which can be used for the rectifications, for errors, omissions, and more specifically, where a person has left taking input tax credit by whatsoever reason. Now, if I'll come to another judgment, the third one which I should discuss is from the Madras High Court, Sunday Camp. And that's also classic judgment and explains whole of the analogy which we have discussed on today. Filing of GSTR 1, then 2A, and 2 on the basis of 2A, and government has not implemented 2. This is what been clearly explained by Honorable Madras High Court. So in this case, precisely what happened, some of the supplies were there which were wrongly reported as interested versus interested. Some errors were there in filing of the return. Mainly, if I'm not wrong, that interested supply were reported as interested supply in GSTR 1. This was the proper case. Rest everything is okay. On the part of supplier, there is no other mistake, and he doesn't bother about it. And the period of this particular error was December 2017. Now, this fact get to know by the assessee in the month of August 2019. August 2019, they get to know this fact that this kind of error has happened. Now, while they get to know about this fact, because actually, as per section 37, time limit for rectification is now over for the GSTR 1. Time limit is also over. So what happened? They taken shelter of again from the High Court, Honorable Madras High Court. Honorable Madras High Court has in crystal clear terms said, first of all, well, before giving decision, they have made some aspects very, very clear. They said there is a mistake on the part of taxpayer. There is no doubt about it. No doubt about it. There is no two argument on it. Second aspect, that the date of rectification is also over. There is no there is no two views on it. The date for rectification of GSTR 1 has also been passed on. Then they discussed the scheme of credit and filing of the return as was envisaged under the GST law. They said, since as per the legal provisions and scheme of the law, the buyer is supposed to claim the credit on the basis of while through filing of GSTR 2. And in filing of GSTR 2, while he will be filing GSTR 2, then only he will be able to know, buyer, not the seller, he will be able to know that there is some wrong credit which is being reflected or some credits are not being reflected into my portal. So that is why there is a failure on the part of government to implement a scheme completely. Had the government implemented this scheme completely, buyer would have intimated it to the supplier, and supplier would have get this aspect to know. The supplier would know this aspect well in advance. So whatever there is a issue or delay by the government in notifying or coming out with whole of the scheme, whole of the implementation of law. This is the problem is there in the implementation of law. So that is why they said, okay, credit cannot be denied and credit will be allowed. That's I would say beautiful judgment. Now the last one which we can discuss on the part of rectification, the judgment is Deepak Prints versus Union of India. This is the 2021 judgment, March 2021. In this case, what happened? In case of the professional was filing a return for Deepak Prints, instead of that, data of Deepak processors get uploaded. Data of Deepak processor get uploaded in GSTR 3B. Now what happens, since there was an error, So even the return finally could not be filed, and even the further return could not be filed. This was the period of May 2019. For the return of May 2019, the data was wrongly filed, and while the further returns can also could also not be filed. Now again, this is the matter of Gujarat. So I'm sharing you with the different High Court judgment on this rectification, so that you can take an analogy that rectification is always allowed. Wherever there is human error will be there, and rectification of error is something very, very genuine proposition which should be allowed. So I have shared PP Automobile from the Punjab High Court, Punjab and Haryana High Court. Then I shared the second case of Bharti Airtel from Delhi High Court. Then I shared Sun Diachem from the Madras High Court, and then now I am discussing Gujarat High Court in the case of Deepak Prints. So in this case, what happened? Not only Gujarat High Court has specifically allowed the rectification, rather has specifically immune the taxpayer from all the late fees for even the later returns, because those could not be uploaded. So this is what I believe is one of the judgments which are useful for the persons who want to file who want to rectify their data. Now lastly, let me cover the aspect of provisional attachment, or maybe recovery and provisional attachment. These are the two important aspects. See, I'll discuss 3-4 judgments which all are from 2021 only, and GST regime which are very, very relevant. At times we have seen department is always in hurry to recover the taxes. Always in hurry to recover the taxes, whether due or not due, whether correct or not correct, both ways. First, recovery of taxes. I'm just giving us, since we are having paucity of time, so I'm just very, very quick on all the aspects. First of all, what happens at times, departmental officer visit the premises of the assessee, maybe under an authorization of inspection under section 67 subsection 1, maybe under an authorization for a search under section 67 subsection 2, maybe for the purpose of audit under section 65, or maybe otherwise. Maybe there is no authorization even then they visit. And each and every time the expectation was to deposit taxes, or maybe whatever the amount which is due as per them should be deposited. This is what the expectation. And in search, this is like anything. We understand the so much of the harassment is there. But we need to understand whether it is a scrutiny, whether it is a search, whether it is an audit, whether it is an inspection. All these are fact-finding or information gathering exercises. These are not the adjudication function. These are inquiry proceedings, information or a fact-gathering exercise. Once the department get to know a particular fact or not, maybe as per their understanding, the less tax has been paid or wrong input tax rate has been taken. In that case, they are supposed to issue the show cause notice. And after that, a final order is to be passed. And please mind, 3 months after that, no recovery proceeding can be initiated 3 months after the order date plus 3 months. Before this, recovery proceeding cannot be initiated. That means department cannot, please mind, department cannot force you to make the payment. This was there is a case from the Honorable Madras High Court in the name of Nandi Dalmel. Beautiful judgment. In fact, what happened in that particular case, the department had made search on the premises of the taxpayer. And at the time of search, department is of the view that this is a taxable item. Assessee was of the view that this is not a particular item, is not taxable. So basically, that was the issue of registered or unregistered brand name. So ultimately, at the time of the search and inspection, we know that department uses so many coercive actions, harassments are there. So they took undertaking from the assessee that, okay, I will pay this much of the amount, maybe 7 crore something amount I will pay in this time frame, and even they have noted down the dates that I will pay this much of the amount, this one, 1 crore each for 7 installments of 1 crore each, and then the remaining for the balance amount, the 8th installment will be paid. The assessee paid on the spot, that means on the day of search, first installment of 1 crore rupees has been paid or deposited, and then after maybe a week's time, another installment was deposited, but after that they retracted it. They said, okay, that was under coercion, under pressure. We said so, but actually our opinion is tax is not payable on this. So what is proper course? Proper course is you assess it, you make a demand. If I'm not agree with it, I will file the appeal. If even the appellate authority is not agree with me, I'll file the second appeal. I have the legal course available with me. So law says that recovery can be made only and only when the order is passed and 3 months has elapsed. The assessee has option to file appeal or pay the taxes in 3 months' time. That means either he is going to file the appeal. If he is going to file the appeal, he'll pay 10% of the tax amount, no amount for interest or penalty, only 10% of the tax amount. That's it. Rest of the amount shall not be paid. For the second appeal, additional 20% of the tax amount. That means total 30%. Let us assume total 100 rupee demand is there for taxes, 50 rupees for interest, 100 rupees for penalty. Then for first appeal, for filing of the first appeal, I'll need to pay 10 rupees. For second appeal, another 20 rupees. Total 30 rupees out of 250. And I can go up to Supreme Court for filing of appeal and for deciding of my case. And once I lose from last litigation forum, then only I am supposed to pay, not otherwise. Then only I am paid, not otherwise. Now let us come to the provisional attachment. This is what the recovery before assessment, recovery of the taxes. Now the second aspect is attachment, which is commonly of bank account. Attachment of the property. The provisions are there in section 83. And see, in this case, what's going to happen? Department is going to instruct the bank, okay, you attach the bank account, and that it's a kind of freeze. The debit shall be freeze, credit will be there. They are not going to take the money from that particular account, but they will freeze it. You will not be able to utilize that bank. This is being widely used. So powers under section 83 and law and Supreme Court in the very lovely judgment of Radhakrishna Industries has clearly spelled out that these provisions are draconian in nature. These provisions are draconian in nature. That means you are going to attach a property of some person before even final adjudication. So they haven't said that it is illegal. They said it is draconian. So the terminology which is being used in section 83 is when commissioner is of the opinion that for protecting interest of the government revenue, it is necessary so to do. So Supreme Court has specifically observed this terminology means the revenue, the interest of the government revenue cannot be protected otherwise. That's what observation of the Supreme Court. Beautiful observation, I will say. So in normal circumstances, no attachment should be there. No attachment minded. So now, one more aspect in relation to it. Even if, let us say, some attachment is there, can the attachment be made for any person other than the company? Let us say this is what the rare case in which attachment is required. Even let us assume there is a case of fake invoices kind of thing. Can the account of the person other than the said company be attached? That means maybe a director or maybe a father of director or maybe a other relative of the director, etc., etc. Can those be attached? Answer is absolutely no, because section itself uses the term property of taxable person, attachment of the property of taxable person, not any other person. So if a person is not registered, there is no question of any attachment. There is no question of any attachment. And as far as attachment of any other persons is concerned, which I was just discussing now, we have a recent judgment from the Delhi High Court in the month of May 2021 itself, in the name of Roshni Sana Jaiswal, Milk Food Limited is the company in which she was director, and the accounts of Roshni Sana Jaiswal was attached, whereby the Honorable Delhi High Court, while observing and referring to the Dada Krishnan Industries from the Supreme Court as well, they also reiterated that these are the draconian provision, and specifically noted that Section 83 warrants attachment of the property of the taxable person, not any other person, not any other person. So attachment cannot happen for anyone other than the taxable person. So I have tried to discuss a couple of important judgments with you, which may be useful for all the practitioners, all the fellow members, while in exercise, while helping your clients or serving to your clients in day-to-day times. Now, quickly on the part of response to the notices, for which I requested to Vivek ji to post the link of the earlier session as well. I'm just quickly mentioning one aspect. See, we chartered accountants are normally having a habit of directly rushing to the merits of the case. Directly rushing to the merits of the case, whereby it is quite possible that there may be some other technical issue in the law cases. And please mind, while I am serving to my client, my objective is to serve the client. Chapter ends there. Right? And it is on the part of the government that they are to see whether they are exercising all the powers correctly or not. If they are not exercising the correct power, then I will raise the issue. So quickly, if I'll say a couple of things which we should always identify. Whenever you are receiving a particular notice, please examine whether the notice is issued in a proper provision of law or not. Just an example. Let us say your case has been taken under scrutiny and they are asking you details of transitional credit. My answer is you are not supposed to respond them. You are not supposed to. In my humble opinion, this notice is wrong. You should stop them. Because scrutiny is of return, not of Tranman, and Tranman is not a return. Second, maybe DIN, which has now been made mandatory in case of central officers. So whether any DIN is there or not. If DIN is not there, whole of the case will be vanished. Third and most important aspect, limitation. Whether the particular notice has been issued within the proper limitation or not. Fourth, most important aspect, whether the jurisdiction exercised by the officer is correct or not. Whether the jurisdiction exercised by the respective officer is correct or not. How come we are supposed to see the jurisdiction? At least from 3 points of view. Number one, territorial point of view. Whether the whether the officer is having a territorial jurisdiction over you or not to sending the proper notice or summon. For example, I am sitting in Rajasthan in Jaipur, and an officer of the state tax or the central tax sends me a notice from the Bombay to appear before him in summon under Section 70. In my humble opinion, that is absolutely rubbish. They doesn't have this kind of territorial jurisdiction to send me the notice. Details you can find it in the other link. Why I am saying so. So as per CPC, you cannot serve this kind of summons. Civil procedure courts comes into picture. Beyond 200 miles apart from your original jurisdiction if you don't have. Territorial jurisdiction I have discussed. Second, functional jurisdiction. Maybe a case has been made under Section 129. I'm telling you common areas whereby the authorities has made the mistake. Maybe a recovery notice has been issued by the superintendent. Maybe Section 74 notice has been issued by the superintendent before amendment in the circular number 3/2017. So whether the functions are being assigned to that fellow or not, important to see. जिसको कि हम काफी बार नहीं देखते, overlook कर जाते हैं. Fourth aspect, or the third aspect of the jurisdiction. I am being assigned to the state, and whether I am being examined by the center or vice versa. Can they do so? In my humble opinion, no. Though this is a litigative matter, but my humble view, analysis you will find in the other link. But in my humble opinion, no, it cannot be done. Now, let me tell you one aspect which you can apply in all the cases. Please check appointment of the officers. You will find so many errors are there in the appointment of the officers as well. Due to paucity of time, I'm not discussing, just referring the provision. If anyone is interested, one can go to those provision of judgment and see, check from there. Please refer definition of proper officer under the law, 1. Then section 5, section 4, section 3, and read with judgment of Canon India Limited, which has recently came from the Honorable Supreme Court. So if you'll see, you will find that even there are issues in the appointment of the officers also. If the officer appointed is not the correct one, how come the proceedings we can treat that the proceedings are the correct one? Last, one more aspect I think जो बहुत commonly हम चीजों को हमको बहुत बार देखने में मिल जाएगा. At times what happen, a same officer makes inquiry, issues show cause notice, and final adjudication order or the assessment order is also being passed by that time. In my humble opinion, this is again not legal. It is violation of principle of natural justice. One must refer to the Latin maxim, nemo judicia in causa sua. That means no person can be judge in his own case. Prosecutor cannot be the judge. आप खुद शो कॉज नोटिस दे रहे हो और आप खुद उस एलिगेशन को सेटअप करने जा रहे हो. प्लीज रेफर वन ऑफ द जजमेंट फ्रॉम द सुप्रीम कोर्ट इन द केस ऑफ अशोक कुमार यादव. ब्यूटीफुल वर्ड, ब्यूटीफुल वर्ड. एंड एक लास्ट जजमेंट मैं आप लोगों के साथ शेयर करता हूँ. स्वरूप डॉक्टर श्रीमती कुंतेश कुमारी. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने स्पेसिफिकली कहा है jurisdiction goes to the root of the cases and the same issues can be raised at any point of time. More specifically in this, I'm citing this judgment because it is in the, they have specifically observed the same for the quasi-judicial authorities. So with these words, I would like to conclude the session. So this is the topic which was assigned was somewhat indefinite. We can talk for whatever length we want. But I have tried to discuss the most important aspects which can be used by the professionals. With this, I hand over to Vivekji. Thank you. Thank you, each and every one of you.
Can we take few queries?
Sure, sir. But I have a second meeting at 8:30 p.m. So maybe 10 minutes we can.
10 minutes.
5, 10
Yes, Kushbuji.
Okay, sir.
Be fast.
Okay, sir. First query is an importer pays GST at the time of import in April, but at the time of filing 3B, the input is not being reflected in 2A, and the law prohibits claiming input not reflected in 2A in excess of 5%. But the assessee wants to claim the input and file the return. Even after 4 months, the input is not being shown in 2A. Assessee has all the documents related to claim. And can we go about it by filing a letter to the jurisdiction AO with all necessary documents?
What I understood is, because there was some error in the voice, what I understood, let me tell you, that there was some goods were imported and IGST on import was being paid, and maybe by whatsoever reason the claim was not being made earlier, you want to make the claim now, correct? Is it
Yes,
the fact?
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So please mind, you can claim the credit even on today for whatever period the bill of entry was filed. Hardly matter when you imported the goods, maybe even in 2019, 18 and 2020, you can claim the credit today, not a problem. Let me tell you the reason. See, there is a time limit restriction provided in section 16, subsection 4. Section 16 subsection 4 restricts the time limit in terms for any invoice or debit note. That's it. Invoice or debit note, not for anything else. Whereas the duty paying documents or the tax paying documents under GST law are the 5 types of tax paying documents are there, which are being explained in section 36 itself. Section 36 subsection, not subsection, rule 36 sub rule 1. If you'll go there, you will find that the credit can be claimed on the basis of bill of entry as well. So in the case of import, it is bill of entry, not the invoice or a debit note. So though the restriction in 16.4 is not eligible, is not applicable, and there is no law in the GST, there is no provision in the GST Act or rule which says until unless it is being reflected in two way, the credit will be eligible. So you can avail the credit even on today in that case. Please go ahead.
Next is it possible for you to share gist of case laws being discussed here?
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. मैंने ऐसा कोई लिस्ट नहीं बनाया हुआ है. I am not sure मैंने last जो आपके बोला था उसमें मैंने PPT यूज किया था या नहीं किया था. किया होगा तो कई सारे जजमेंट, बट वो पुराना है. तो जो recent जजमेंट जो मैंने डिस्कस की वो उसमें नहीं. I'm sorry for that.
Whether HSN to be reported in GST are one by all, or there is any exemption to small taxpayers? I think it's so.
I have to say sorry. I don't deal in these compliances, so won't be able to tell you.
Next is any option now to take transitional credit?
Because procedural queries in relation to filing of the return, I won't be able to handle. That's my reservation or limitation, you can say.
Opinion on time restriction to claim ITC by September or due date of filing annual return.
I couldn't understand the question. Come again, please.
Opinion on time restriction to claim ITC by September or due date of filing annual return.
See, again, the person who has asked this question is referring section 16 subsection 4. I would say it is a litigative provision, but in most of the cases, I'm not saying in all the cases, but in most of the cases whereby you have not claimed the credit till now, you will be able to claim the credit. How it is going to be a bit longer. I'm just going to give some hint to it. Number one, if it is in relation to RCM, again, the same point will apply, which I discussed in the session itself. Second, if you have taken the credit in your books of accounts, there is a good argument to say that I have already claimed the input tax credit, and the claim of input tax credit is being made in my books of account, not in the GST 3B. If at all it is to be made, it was to be made in GST 2, which the date of which is being extended. So that is why I will say, in most of the cases, the claim of input tax can be made, or a good case can be made for claim of the input tax credit. But for sure, the departmental authority as at the assessing or maybe first appellate authority will not subscribe to this view. Maybe at a higher forum, you will get the justice.
So next, Bharti Airtel case was stayed by Honorable High Court. So still, can we take risk of considering the judgment?
So what is the risk in taking that judgment? If you have not taken any credit till now, you have not availed the credit. If you are referring or if we are following the analogy, then you are to get something. You are not having any risk of losing anything. So you are going to get anything. And this is not only Bharti. I have discussed a couple of other judgments as well.
So next is in GST 3B turnover by mistake wrongly get entered in lakhs instead of crores, but tax paid entered is correct. What is the remedy?
कुछ भी रेमेडी नहीं है. आराम से आप टैक्स करेक्ट पे किया है, आपने just write a letter to the department, chapter ends there. कुछ भी और करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Write a letter with all disclosure that this kind of mistake has been happened and we are intimating you. That's it. Chapter ends. You want to save your penalty only, na? There is no question of any tax. There is no question of any interest. Once you are disclosing on your own, there cannot be any penalty.
So next is a company having two GST registration, Delhi and Bihar, imported by Delhi branch, but input shown in Bihar GST number. Then what will do?
How come it has happened? I think you also must not be having all the facts. maybe whosoever has raised the question, then he can send me he can contact me personally or maybe send me an email.
Okay, sir.
Because
Transporter
I
A.
need to know more facts on it, how it has happened.
Okay, sir. Next is transporter A bill to transporter B under RCM. Transporter B also bill to client under RCM. Transporter B will have to RCM but will be unutilized. Is there any option for refund? Any other remedy?
I think something wrong has happened in this whole of the proceeding or the supply chain, which you said to me. Because see what happened, there will be only one GTA. No, not more than one GTA would be there. Since you said one transporter and then second transporter and a RCM, see, we need to understand two aspects. First of all, transportation of goods by road is exempted in general. Whenever there is a transportation of goods, it is in general, it is exempted, except in the case of GTA or the courier. Fine. This is one aspect. So that means if you are a GTA, then only tax is there. If you are providing services of transportation of goods, otherwise than by way of GTA, then it is exempted. One. Now in a particular transaction, there will be one GTA, not more than one GTA. So if this kind of supply chain is there, whereby one transporter is providing some services to another, then I will advise the queries to please check the facts again and check whether it is a services of the GTA or it is a services of providing of the vehicle. Means the technically says what law says, means of transportation provided to a GTA. If it is so, then that is also exempted through a different entry by notification number 12/2017 itself. So one is transportation of goods is exempted. Second is providing means of transportation to GTA is also exempted. So in that case, I believe that in some of the situation, you need to improvise your whole supply chain tax mechanism. But assuming assuming that you have paid some wrong taxes, so definitely you can take a refund of that, subject to that you have not charged it from someone else. You have borne it on your own. In that case, you can definitely make a refund to it. Not a problem in that.
Pushpuji, take last query because he has another session. So we have to free him 8:20.
If GST number has been cancelled due to non-filing of return and 90 days has been elapsed, revocation is not possible. Now what can be done for revival of GST?
See, I will say you'll have to find a factual, you'll have to take factual situation in detail, and probably I am of the firm belief that some issue will come out of it. Some issue will come out of it definitely, but you need to, or one need to go through factually. Please try to identify what kind of mistake is there at government part. Once you correlate it with it, then you'll be having a good case to get it restored. I think one question is more there, which I can see on the screen, that any option now to take transitional credit. My answer is always yes. Still, even one can make a claim to have the transitional credit. How? It will again be based on it is subjective on the facts of the case.
So thank you very much, Jatin ji, for such a wonderful session. A big round of applause for you. Really, in a short span of time, you have covered many very useful judgment, either it's from the High Court or the Supreme Court. And also for the detail, if you want to check the detailed link of the how to respond the notices of the GST department, we have already shared you the link. You can watch it. We have already done with the Jatin ji. That's why उन्होंने उस short time कर दिया. So he has another meeting. So thank you very much for such a wonderful session. And for all, we have tomorrow the last session. It's the 10th of the 10th day of the our GST certificate course. So my request to all of you, please be there. It's very important topics by CA Tarun Arora ji. And tomorrow also we have another webinar. A core webinar we have at 4 o'clock, and this is on taxation of partnership, taxation of AOP, latest CBD notification, amendment in section 9B 45.4, So this is also on the YouTube channel. You can directly go there and can watch at 4 o'clock. So one more announcement is there. Just in 1 minute. On Sunday, we have another session. This is very important. Few people were asking for the PR system of Canada, IELTS requirement, West process, ICI MOU, and speaker is Vivek Khurana, me myself. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. Thanks a lot. Bye bye. Take care. See you tomorrow 4 and 6:30 p.m.